I will tell you, I do not miss those days. I do not miss those young kid days. I know, like, I do see sometimes I'm like, oh, I do miss that, like, innocent little child doing things. And no. And then I watch like Adeline and Eleanor, and I'm like, you guys are like humans now. You
I
can
know, but
do
when you're
things.
in the middle school chaos, I'm going to be like, oh God, look at you.
You remember that pretty well.
Good luck.
That's
Good
awesome.
luck.
So for the listeners, I asked my sister actually to do one of these. She's kind enough to do it. So, I'm fortunate to get my sister Jill McDonald in here to come and give us a little bit of some insight and some stories around one thing or maybe multiple things that she's been able to do or accomplish, or maybe she's still trying to go through. I'll let her kind of give a little bit of a background on herself because she does it way better than I do. But why don't we start, Jill? Give a quick background on yourself, and then what you some of the key things that you've done and what you're doing. And then I think I haven't even talked to you about what topic we're even going to do today. More times than not, like the guest is like, oh yeah, I'm going to talk about this. I haven't even chatted with you because we're both so busy. So we'll just jump right into whatever topic you want. But let's just
Let's see
start
what
with
comes up. Let's uncover some skeletons.
Love that. I love the skeletons, especially when it's your sister. Like we see each other every
Man, you can't
weekend, but we
hide from
hardly,
me.
yeah.
You can't hide from me. Okay, so I'm the youngest of, no, I'm not the youngest. I'm the third of four. I'm younger than Jeff. Third of four. We're a very competitive family. And I pretty much wanted to do anything that Jeff and our other brother Paul wanted to do. So we all ski raced and ended up really loving it. I played soccer, very much identified as like a tomboy growing up. And yeah, just ended up taking ski racing pretty far. Ended up getting a scholarship to college, went to the University of Vermont, skied there, made the US ski team from college, which was rare. But funny enough, the reason I feel like I could do that is because our other brother, Paul, made the US ski team from college. And I was like, if he can do it, I can do it. And so that kind of like lowered the barrier for me of what I thought was possible. So yeah, I ended up going to the ski team. I raced international for 1 year, and then pretty much like my confidence really struggled. Like I wasn't a great ski racer on the US ski team. And I think a big part of that was I like put too much pressure on myself and just crumbled essentially. It's not like I wasn't a good ski racer anymore. It was all mental for me. So I went back to college, raced 2 more years, and then retired.
Wait. I
Yeah.
didn't know you left college, went to the
Are
USK
you
team, and then
kidding
went
me?
back to college.
Jeff, oh
No, I
my God.
didn't. I had
Oh my
no
God.
idea. I thought you just stayed in college like Paul did and went to school like during the
I love
summer and
this.
stuff.
I love this. This is
Oh, there's one. All right.
such a window into our family. So yes, Jeff, I made the US ski team from college, but you probably didn't know this either because I actually forgot this and I remembered because I was reading my journals like a year ago
From when you
and
were in college?
from when I was in college. And
Yeah.
I had written, I was like in turmoil after my freshman year because I was invited to go to the US ski team after my freshman year. And I didn't know whether to do it or not because I loved college. I loved the team I was on. And I was like, what am I going to do? And I was like, wait, I don't even remember that happened. But I ended up declining it. I didn't go to the US ski team and I stayed in college. I know.
Wow.
I now remember it because I remember talking to mom and dad about it.
Do you
But
remember why?
my rationale was like, I am on the best alpine women's ski team in the country for college. And everyone on my team was a like an ex-US ski teamer, and they were like 4 years older than me. I was a true freshman, so I was 18. And they were so good and they made me so good. And so I was like, I think I'm gonna get much better in college. Like I think this is where I need to be. And at the time, the college circuit was so good. Like it was, yeah, I mean, in terms of ski racing, like all these ex-US ski teamers run in the college circuit. And so I was like, I'm going to stay. And I didn't, and it was an invitation to go to the development team, which is like the D team. There's A, B, C, D. And I was like, no. So I didn't. So I went to college my sophomore year. And then after my sophomore year, I was invited again, but this time to the C team, which is like the Europa Cup team, which is one
Yeah.
below World Cup. And I was like, if I say no, I'm never going to get invited again. And I really did feel like I was on the trajectory of like getting better. And I was winning all the college races at the time. So I was like, I think I've plateaued in college. So I said yes. And I left for a year. We probably don't remember, honestly, because it was only a year. So it was like, were you in college? Yeah, you were in college at the time. I think you
Yeah,
were in
but you know what?
Montana.
I think at that time I was at Montana State. I wasn't at
Yeah,
CLU. But
I think
the,
you were
the
too.
thing is, like, the minute I moved to Montana, the rest of the world was just shut out. Literally, like, I remember, like, Paul and I were so close. And then I moved to Montana. I didn't know what Paul did for like 5 years. Like, I'd get a text message or something every once in a while, or a flight by pigeon mail or something. And it just like, I didn't, Paul's told me things like, oh yeah, do you remember when? I'm like, no, I don't. No. Well, that's a good background. Thank you. And I actually, on that point about the D team and then finally making the C team,
Hmm.
I actually had this conversation the other day with someone. I thought it was really interesting that, you know, in ski racing in particular, there's a lot of other sports. I guess baseball does it too, and basketball does too. But I really struggle with trying to grab people at such a young age, even for the development team, because you learn so much in those years of that collegiate, as well as maybe a little after, that I wonder for the US ski team and so forth. I mean, a shift that's different. I mean, you get the prodigy kid every once in a while, but I just got to wonder how much from a mental side of things, if you allowed people to have to do a couple of years of college and then they could make the team, just what kind of development you can actually get out of it. Because that maturity level that you had from your freshman to your sophomore got you from the D to the C, and you wouldn't have gained it. And also the competition is also there. I think a lot of people are like, oh, it's the US ski team. It's like, no, there's really good competition in college too. If you pick the right school, and then, maybe you pick the right circuit. And I know over there you guys have a pretty, it's a pretty intense circuit over there on the East Coast. But yeah, it just was something I was talking about. I thought it was, I just wonder if the US ski team could figure it out and kind of figure out how to get that development going.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great debate. And I think it's changed since then. Honestly, I don't follow it as closely anymore. And it's crazy to admit, but I'm pretty sure it's like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
I was on the team.
Jeez.
No, it's probably longer than that. Yeah, it was 10. Oh my, 20 years ago. It doesn't matter.
Because didn't you just turned 40, right?
39.
39. Okay. I was actually talking to Meg about
But
this the other
hey, I
night.
wish it was 40. Yeah, no, it's 2006. I was on the team. So yeah, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah, it's a
Wow.
lot.
But back to your point, like I think they're starting to be more open to different avenues to get to the US ski team because so many people are going to college because it's such a great circuit. It's funded. You can get a scholarship. And I mean, at least for me, and maybe this gets into like something fun to talk about, which is like for me, college was great because it was less pressure. Like I would go compete in skiing on the weekends, and then I would go back to my dorm and live with people who weren't athletes, and like they didn't care what I did. And I could be Jill and I could just be a normal college kid. And it just like, it didn't put so much pressure on like, your job is to ski and you're going to live with your competitors who are also your friends. And it was like so much pressure that I couldn't take it. Like and I didn't know it at the time. That's what's hard. But I'm grateful for the experience because it ended up being fuel and sort of like a catalyst that helped me create what my job is now, which is like middle school girls build confidence in themselves. And, there's a lot of things that I wish I had known then, but like, I'm like, oh, well, like I don't care. I feel like I gained a lot from it. But this concept of like fighting to the finish, as I was thinking about it in preparation for this conversation, I was like, I feel like I'm trying to like unlearn how to do that because I'm so competitive. I'm always fighting. And I feel like I need to like learn to like trust the process and stop trying so hard to control everything because I love control. So I don't know. This is such
There's
a
a lot.
sister thing,
There's a
such a sister thing to do to like blow up your spot and be like,
no.
fight to the finish is the exact opposite of what I'm doing.
But there's a lot to unpack there, because I think from the standpoint of this, again, I don't know what topic we want to go down, but I think there's a couple of things that I hear from what you're saying, and maybe you can kind of walk us through the timeline. First is, there's what you were before college. Then you hit the pressures of, and I really think diving into kind of the pressures of what the ski racing was in college versus, your real life and the internal struggle you had. And then, maybe you can tell us a little bit about, that competition, that mindset that you had then as a parent of three and so forth. What are some of the things that you're taking from that? But what is changing? I mean, the fight to the finish doesn't have to be you're still killing over yourself like I do in triathlon. I mean, again, I chose one addiction for another one. That's why I do it. So, that's a different story. But, maybe that's something we want to unpack if there's another one. But I think for me, I'd be really interested, like, okay, with the time we have here, what were you before college? What did that competition look like? And what did that, it feels like you had like a two-face almost, right? Like this ski racer, but then this other person in college, and maybe there's a three and a fourth skin there. And then you work your way into this parenthood. And what does that look like coming from a competitive type person? And maybe you're still fighting to that finish, whatever that might be. But maybe that's a good place to start. Let's start with where you were and
Yeah, I mean, as I think about our childhood, at least for me, we were always like we were competitive about who would get to the car first. Like everything was a competition. And I don't know if that's just being the product of 4 kids in a family, or like mom and dad were super competitive and so we were too.
Were they?
Or like,
I don't remember.
maybe you did this to us, Jeff, because you're the oldest,
right? Yeah, okay.
and you set the tone.
Exactly. Right.
But like, I loved it. I love competition, and I love, like, it's fun for me. And I think I got a lot of my self-worth in, I would work really hard at something, and like a coach would tell me what to do and I would do it. And then I would see the results of that. That's an incredible learning. If you work hard, if you do something, you can achieve X result. And I was lucky enough that I was like pretty naturally talented in sports, right? Like I kind of just picked up on things. School, a different story. But like sports for me was like, I got it. Like I understood it and I loved it. So my identity and self-worth was wrapped up into accomplishments, achievements. And, it went well until it didn't. So like my path was a ski race growing up, and then got a scholarship to college, went to college, got better, got to the top of the college circuit, and then went to the next level. And that on the US ski team is where I didn't achieve results by putting in X amount of effort, right? Like I tried so unbelievably hard, but I didn't get the results I was hoping for, which was such a lesson for the first time for me at, how old was I, 21? That like, effort doesn't always mean success. And like, what does that mean for the value I bring into the world? Like, who am I as a person if what I'm working towards isn't being successful? And like, I didn't know at the time that was happening. And so I didn't make the ski team at the end of that year, right? Went back to college, found success again. But then when I retired and got into the real world with a real job, I was like, somebody tell me what to do. Like, I need a coach to like tell me what should my career be? Because I've only been an athlete. So like, what should I do? Tried sales. That would like, I ended up selling copiers, which was the worst job for me. But it was like, well, you're an athlete, you could sell copiers, and it was awful. And so like, I went into sales because it's competitive, right? But I was just like, not happy. And it honestly took me like 10 years to finally figure out, like, what am I fighting for? Like, what am I trying to do? And it's like, oh, I'm trying to find my value in the world. I'm trying to find something to like tie my self-worth to, because I don't have that thing.
Yeah, and so before we jump into that part, let's go back though, because you said some things that I just want to kind of hone in on. First is, growing up as a competitive kid and so forth. What were the one and or three things that you took away from being that competitive person that drove you to that next level? Like to that next level of collegiate activity, because I do want to dive into the collegiate activity, because I'm curious, like you started to talk about the self-worth for the US ski team, you tried hard. Like, so let's start with, you kind of worked your way to that college piece. But before that, we were a competitive family, I get it. But like, what were some of the key things that drove you to go to that next level in college? Or were you just like, hey, I'm just natural, I'm really good at this, and who cares, I'm just going to go do this thing? Or, and I know I've heard other stories, like, you know, the whole thing where you were going to quit and all that. We can tell that too. But I think for me, like, what's the one or three things that you were like, yeah, I had this, which got me to this? What are those from the young to the college? And then we'll take the college on.
That's such a great question. And I'm sitting here trying to like think about it. And I really think my answer was I liked the praise from other people. Like,
Why?
I don't
Because I was the
know.
same way. I freaking loved it. I loved it.
I
Everything
don't,
about it.
if you, okay, let's say you took away all of my coaches, you took away all of my competitors, and it was just skiing, I don't think I would have done it. I liked being on top of the podium. I liked like people applauding, if I'm
Was it
being
the people, or
honest.
was it really you were like, I have a kill mentality? I have a go get 'em kill mentality. And yeah, that's the exhaust of it, right? That's the outcome.
I
But
think
in
I
the
wanted to
end,
be
you were like,
better than everybody else.
yeah, you
Yeah, I
wanted to.
just like, but I want I don't, because I wasn't like competing with myself. Like I was just like, I want people to think I'm great. And I guess I also wanted to think I'm great because that their approval of me, right? And like thinking I'm great, which I'm not this way anymore. Like I've
Yeah, we'll
really
get
spent a
there.
lot of
We'll
time.
we'll get we'll get there. We'll get there. Don't
But
worry. I know,
this is
but
like
but
teenage Jill, you know? Like
yeah.
she was desperate for approval and praise from other people.
Did that come from the place you were in the family? Maybe was it the? Do you
I
know? Have you
blame
ever?
you. No, just kidding.
Uh, a lot of people have a lot of problems because of me. Trust me.
I don't know where that I don't know. And I think, well, you know what? Actually, I don't even think it was our family upbringing because of the space I work in with middle school girls. This is very common for this age. It's very common for right around like 12, 13. You start to look external for validation from other people. You stop like looking internally, like, I'm good, I'm great, like that carefree. And you start to look around at your peers and you start to compare yourself. So it's a very natural thing. I just think I
Yeah.
really fed into it and like I loved it. I still do. I still think that's within me, right? But I actively work against like this idea that like I have to be better than you to feel good about myself. Spend a lot of time doing that and it's fake.
So what did that? So what did that do then? Because it fueled a fire for you to go race in college. Was that a fuel of fire to go race in college, or were you like, no, I want to go? I want to go get more praise in college. Had you? Did you? Do you remember? Did you have any maturity there? Was there a maturity level that you had at that point?
Well, so I toured a bunch of schools when I was thinking about college, and I actually was going to go to Denver. I think I had verbally committed there. And I took one trip out east to Vermont and saw the East Coast circuit, which was like really tight knit, close. And I witnessed one race and I was like, I want to be a part of that because it was like team. And I love team. I almost quit ski racing for soccer because I love teams. I actually don't think I don't know. I know what I was going to say. I don't think I'm great at like an individual sport, but I've also got into running after ski racing because I like the mindset of sitting in discomfort. So I get why you love triathlons and like I get that mentality of like I love sitting with my thoughts and your brain is screaming stop, quit, and you're like nope, I'm just going to push through and see what happens on the other side. I think that's very therapeutic and I think it's a great testing ground for that in life. But I really love feeling like I have a team and I'm supported. And so anyway, I saw that in college. And I think that's why I got much better is because it was a team. It turned an individual sport into a team sport. And that's what college racing is.
So again, before we jump onto the US ski team and you kind of felt like you hit a peak, or maybe you didn't, or maybe you couldn't, what was the one or two things that the team brought to you that you didn't have before? What did you add to your quiver or your arsenal?
Which team? College?
The college team, yeah. So you were an individual, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
you came to college. You were like, "Hey,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I found a team. I love being a part of a team sport." Then your comment was, "Yeah, it kind of allowed me to make the US ski team. It kind of built me into that next level." What was the one or two things that you were like, "These were the things I needed. I was missing, and now I have them in my quiver."
I think it's a steady like schedule and system. Like you live on campus, everything's provided for you. Like you have this incredible training facility. You get in a van, they take you where you need to go. They tell you what to do. Like it's like insert athlete, do what they say, and I'm very good at doing what you tell me to do. So there was that, but also every weekend you would race and you're an individual trying to win, right? But your team gets a team score. Every time, if I were to get like third or fifth, you're still celebrated and excited about it because you're contributing to the points for your team. And at the end of the day, you want your team to win NCAAs. And of course I want to, but there's a second motive instead of just me. So like, let's say I fell or I got 10th. I still got points for the team, which changed this from like, I'm a failure to I suck to I'm still doing something. I'm still providing value. And you also get celebrated by your team. So let's say I won and I got a bunch of points for our team. My teammates are happy for me because we're winning collectively. And that's a completely different thing than on the US ski team where it's like, and I don't want to speak for the team now. It's just when I was on it, it wasn't, if I won, someone else lost. And that means they don't get a race next week. Like it's a little more cutthroat, right? Understandable. It's a professional sport. But that's what changed for me is like a schedule and system, and literally the point system changed. And it's like you're performing and executing for a team as opposed to just individual.
Yeah, those are two key things. One I hear routine, and then the second there's routine, and I think that's like you said, there's structure and all this. The van, I I think even at an older age, I realize like if I don't have structure or routine, I'm a mess. Meg's like, you're a mess. Like you can just tell when I don't have routine. And then the second one is really just kind of it's this group mentality. But one thing that you did say, and I am going to poke at this skeleton a little bit, maybe you don't have an answer, but you said, when it wasn't in the team level or before team, you weren't providing value to who? To you? Like who weren't you providing value to? Because you said finally you went to the team, right? And then the team was like, the scoring system allowed you to provide value even if you weren't winning. Your fifth place or whatever got points for the team to go to NCAA. But you said you were providing value, which means you weren't providing value. And it seems like every time you mention something, like each ladder you step, you aren't providing value, so you find something else to provide value. So I'm curious, do you remember what value you weren't providing? Was that to yourself? Was that the outside world? You were like, oh, I kind of made it to the top and I'm not getting the kind of cheering I wanted before. Like, what can you talk a little bit about what that value?
Yeah, I don't think I knew what it was at the time. I think it's all in reflection now, looking back.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I had my self-worth was wrapped up, and self-worth is like the value you think you bring to the world. Like, do you think you have value in this world? And I think that was wrapped up in accomplishment. It was wrapped up into achieving a trophy or standing on top of the podium or like getting to that goal. And so when that wasn't, or even getting praise from my coach, wow, you're one of the best racers I've worked with, or you're doing so well. And US ski team doesn't give that. I was on the C team, like, they're saying that maybe to Lindsey Vonn, but like, they're like, yeah, make it, and I'm not saying that's good or bad. I'm just, I liked the praise from other people telling me that I was good.
And you maybe lost that. And so you had to find other value when you came into college and you were like, hey, I got to go find a team. It wasn't so much along the lines of like you were getting as much praise even as an individual racer pre-college. Maybe you were. And then you hit college and you were like, oh, this can actually, I can start now working as a team versus just an individual. What I guess then the next question is, what does that do to your psyche then? I mean, it's like you're almost taking things off of your shoulders and putting it on others. So it's not like you're carrying the weight anymore. You're actually, the whole team's carrying the weight, right? So it's a little lighter.
So much lighter. And that's why I could get in the start gate and be like, this is fun. Are you kidding me?
And that's why you did so well.
Yeah. I remember, there was a race, NCAA's my sophomore year. I was standing in the start gate of the slalom. The ski racing has 2 runs. Stay in the start gate of the second run. I was in 5th place or 6th place after the first run. So, and they do reverse order. So you're like starting 5th from last.
Right. Is it reverse order of 15 or 30 in college?
I think it was 15.
Is it 15? Yeah. I think World Cup's only 30 because then nobody makes
it is 30 because it's the whole field.
Yeah,
but this is like 15. So I'm starting, whatever that is. 5th. Yeah, it was like 5th or 6th from the end of the top 15. And I was in the start gate like, I'm going to win this. I'm going to win this. And I knew it. I was like, I'm going to win this thing. And kick out of the start gate, 0 pressure. It was the most flow I've ever been in my life. Like it just, there was nothing else that got in my, I was just so certain I was going to win. I get through the finish and my time was the fastest, but I still had 5 more racers to go. Right. So everybody comes through and like each person that comes through is not beating me. And I'm like, I'm going to win this thing. And then the last racer comes down.
The first place
racer comes down, cross the finish line. She beat me by 0.01. It might have even been 100.
For everybody that's listening, that's 100th of a second.
It was either 100th of a second or a 10th of a second. I know it was not more than that. And I was like, no! But I will say that is the most proud I have ever been in my entire life of a race because I know that I gave it 100% of everything I had. And I do not feel like I lost because I was like, that is everything I had. And I was certain that that was my best performance. So she deserved to win for sure on that day because that was the best I had. And I wish I had done that more in my career. And I do that now in work and in life. I try to show up that way, like give it all I have, because that's all you can ask of yourself. And I think before it was always comparison to someone else as opposed to comparison to myself. And like, what am I capable of? What do I think I can do?
Yeah, the give it all you have, I agree with, but if I'm repeating back and hearing what you're saying, it's also this sense of like, shoot, I forgot. It's like a sense of an opportunity. I forgot what I was going to say. That's all right. Keep going. I forgot what I was going to say.
I love that happens to you too.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
We call it mom brain or baby brain. I've had 3 kids. That happens to me all the time.
It's doing way too much in your life that you're like, holy crap.
Totally.
But I think, as you talk about, in regards to the ski racing and, kind of that type of mentality and ease with things, I think, and this is what I was going to say, is centered around, you were like, oh, I finally was in the flow and I didn't have to worry about it. And I get there's competition there and giving it all, but how much of it though was you actually didn't give a shit? Like you literally were like, oh, I can go, I'm in a flow state. I'm at whatever level it is. So is it really a piece of like, oh, I'm going to give it all? Yeah, I got it. You're going to go give it all. So do I. So does everybody if you go give it all. But is it more of a sense of like, actually, I didn't care, or maybe I knew it was going to be okay. Because as I've gotten older, one thing that I've recognized, and this could be me just having more of a religious background and so forth, I just trust that the situation's going to come out in the best light that it can. So it's just accepting it. And I will tell you, now that I've done that, shit just works out because maybe I'm just like, nothing's going to bug me. Like I'm good to go. And it always feels like things are better than what they are. But my question to you then is like, is that what it is? You just finally were like, actually, I just stopped really giving a shit. And I already mentally, I had the preparation from being young. I knew how to be competitive. I was a good racer. I was a good student. I had the mental fortitude. I had the physical side of my body. Now I just had to get to that next level, was stop giving a crap about everything. And that was really the final equation that got you to that next level. Is that fair to say? Or is there anything about that you're like, maybe, maybe not?
I think that it was, I stopped giving a shit. I think it was, I stopped trying to control it. I stopped trying.
Let's talk about that.
So, I joke that I'm a recovering perfectionist, like, because I love control. I love thinking that I can control every situation, other people, and that's comfortable to me because I'm like, I know what's coming if I can control it. And control is fake. It's not a real thing. And so I think when I was competing, I was trying to control the outcome. And if I could force it, if I could do everything perfectly, I could control. And I think I was sitting in the start gate like, I'm not going to control this. I'm just going to let it happen. And it switched from this brain of like, do this, do like hit the gate, go fast, to just do what you know you can do.
Yeah.
And that's kind of for me what flow is. And kind of to like your mindset of like, whether it's religious or trust in the universe, that things are just going to move and they're going to go, and stop trying to stop it, force it, change it. Yeah. And, okay, so as I'm saying this is my big wrestle. This is the biggest thing I wrestle with, which is being competitive and controlling and like love achieving something. I have goals. I'm ambitious. I like to get things done. With chill out, let it happen, be in the flow, like let things be and trust that like this could be it working out. Even if it feels like everything's blowing up, it's like, well, maybe this is what it working out looks like. And that balance of both of those, because I can't see myself being like fully zenned out, like whatever all the time, right? No, I love like, give me a goal and like something to do, right? So it's like this, that both of these versions of me can exist, and they're always kind of like competing with each other. And like, yeah, and like, how do you teach this to your kids too? Like, how do you teach them to like be more trusting and stop trying to control everything? Or do you teach them to be more competitive and like go for a goal, go for something? It takes hard work, perseverance, and getting through challenges. And yeah, you're going to fail. You got to get back up. So anyway, it's these, maybe they're not opposites either. I was going to say like opposite sides of the same coin, but like, I don't know. I love thinking about that. And that's, I think, my biggest thing I always work on is like letting the competitive side, controlling side come out. And then also being like, dude, chill. Like just be in the flow and trust that what you're doing is enough. And that's all you can ask.
Yeah, but I think that's also done in the circumstance of where you're at. So to your point, let's just take a Tom Brady. I'm sure if he were to say it, he'd go, "Yeah, I was super competitive." And you see it. But then when he got out there, he found the flow state, right? He actually was like, all right, I got to be calm. I got to be the leader on the team. I can't be ruffled. I can't be stressed. I can't be super competitive. I can, but this is now not the time to actually go through and be like, let's go, like hammer on someone. It may be the time to like, okay, I got to get in the flow state. I got to get the team in the flow state. I got to work things. So I actually think that's really good advice as you uncover this, is like, as you work to things or goals you're trying to accomplish, I think one of the final feats of it is actually getting in there and saying, all right, I'm competitive. I've got everything prepared. I now have to let it go and just let the process or the flow take itself. And I think even from there, you enter in some more dark places that then you have to reset that flow. I mean, I'll tell you, in triathlon, you're right. The reason why I do it, it's the dark cave that I go into every freaking race. I know it sounds, I know you're the only one that's really going to get it, because like, and there's others that do, but like out of our whole family, like Paul's like, why would you ever want to go into that state? I'm like, I don't know, man. Mile 65 and I'm out of fluid. I can't eat anything. I'm barely standing up. My eye vision's going blurry. And I'm just like, I'm not going to finish. And you're like, and it's funny because during that, you actually have to go back into a flow state. Like your body starts to mess with itself, and it's telling you to get back. Like you almost like want to do this. And what you have to do is be like, all right, you got to calm down. You've got to get back into a flow state. And it just tells your brain to let go of everything that it's thinking about and just push through it. So I actually think that's really, really good advice. I mean, I think that's a key piece. Is I actually would agree. Maybe it's not the two sides of the same coin. It somehow maybe works like in tandem. It's like one before the other kind of thing.
I love that. I think your example of, Tom Brady or anyone that's the best in the world at what they do is like, you put in the effort and you compete and you do everything you can. And then eventually you have to just let it go and trust and be in that flow state. And I feel like I think Michaela Schifrin's a great example. This is a ski racer right now she just won like the 100th World Cup. So
Yeah,
she
it's
broke all
crazy.
records, but she's struggling with her mentality in GS. And she admitted that. And she's like, I have this block. I'm scared. Like, I don't know what it is. She didn't go into details about what the block is, but she's working with a team because she can't get back into that flow, right? Like she can't let it go. And we're all human, right? Like, I'm like, that's so relatable to me. But I think you're right. I think there's probably a time to be competitive, to persevere, to push through, to sit in the discomfort, what have you. And then there's time to trust and let it go and be in the flow and just enjoy it.
Yeah.
And balancing both of those. And I think I work harder to be in flow more because I revert to the controlling side of myself more quickly, more easily. Like that's just kind of like habitual for me.
Yeah, but do you go into that? Because I feel like for me, one thing that I've developed, and it'll be a question for you, is um I think growing up in the competitive landscape as well as the athletics, like I like you can do a lot of sports and I can do them well, right? I can go out and I can play a sport and I can do it well and I love it. I just wonder if maybe, while people have to go work on the running, the biking, the soccer, the basketball, go work on the technique of that takes a lot of time for them to do. But really what you and I have to work on is the flow state, because that's,
Mm,
when you look at the sport itself, and I thought you said it really well, which is like it actually goes in tandem where you either have one or the other, or you're fighting between one or the other. But when they both click together is when you win. And I'll use an example. Like growing up, I still remember in ski races, when I would get going across the finish line, I'd be like, that was one of the worst runs I ever had. I felt slow. I felt, and then you look at the time and you're like, holy crap, that was the fastest time. Because I went out of the gate kind of in this flow state, trusting my ability, blah, blah, blah. And then you get to the bottom, you're like, oh, that just sucked. And then you look at the time, you're like, shit, I I won, or wow, I'm in third, or I'm in fifth. You're like, holy crap, that was a really, really good run. So I just wonder how much of it though is like it's not one or the other. It's like you're kind of battling between these two to find like the very fine line of that equation between the two of them. That's
mm-hmm,
Yeah, it's interesting.
mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna skip the US ski team just because of time, but I wanna like what I want to get into just briefly here is you kind of talked a little bit about what you've learned now, and you're kind of like trying to bring this maybe inner peace, this more flow state than the competition and so forth. But I will say, I think it's just because your competition is subconscious. You're already there.
Mm-hmm.
You
My
It's not,
baseline
yeah,
is
you're
bring
like,
it on.
well, that's the thing, is like most people's baseline is here. I think yours and mine are here, and I think it's like people are like, oh, that's calm down. People say that to me all the time. Oh, that's calm competition for you, like that's 50%. Yeah, I mean, yeah. But I think for me, and I think for the listeners, you've kind of walked us through this, like, okay, there's been a battle that kind of started as a young kid. You worked your way into the team. I think we've uncovered some things that were like, hey, here's some little nuggets that you can take if you're trying to get to a finish line somewhere. But I think what I'm curious about is now, as you mature into an adult, you have 3 kids, 2 daughters, and a very young son. How old is he now? Like a year?
I think it's 11 months, 10 months,
Jeez.
10
Yeah.
months.
So a year, you're deep into motherhood. You're kind of have, I know you were doing a lot of like running and marathons and so forth, and you got out of it because now you're a mom and you're doing all this. And I don't know, we haven't talked, I don't know if you're trying to get back into it, but there's battles that you're constantly facing day in and day out. And I think, where are you in this stage of life right now? You went through these different competitive components, and I think you had other ones too, your work, and you mentioned some of that. But like, where are you right now, and then where do you see it going in the next 1 to 2 years?
Yeah, it's funny. I was just texting a friend the other day trying to be like, hey, should we put a race on the calendar for this fall? Because I need something to train for. Because like I had 5 kids I had 5 kids. I had 3 kids in 5 years. And, I know, we know we're done having kids. And so I'm ready to like reclaim the strength of my body, and it did some amazing things in growing these humans. But now I'm like, okay, I want to get strong and I want to feel that strength. And, I have no interest in ski racing, but I do have an interest. I like running because of that. You sit with your thoughts. In ski racing, it was so quick. The longest run was like a minute, right? It's so quick. You don't even get to really explore anything like in the moment. Whereas when you're running, or for you triathlons, it's like you're sitting with yourself for a long time. And I love that. To me, that's meditative. So anyway, I want to sign up for a race, not because I don't care if I win. I don't even care if I place, but I want something to work towards, like a goal to have. So yeah, I'll probably start running again just because of that. But I don't seek validation from competition anymore. You and I played on a soccer team. I love that. That's fun. But I don't care about placing in anything anymore.
You don't, not even a little bit?
No. Wild, right? Like I really don't.
Like you just don't care. You're like,
no. And you know what? Even as I'm sitting here now, I'm like, why? Why don't I care? And I think it's because I get so much validation and self-worth from my job. Like I love what I do. And I just like, to me, that's like my sport now. And
well, that's
so
your
like,
sport. Okay. Well, that's
yeah.
fair. Okay. So you still have.
But I'm not trying to, well, I guess I
It
am
doesn't
trying to
have
be
to
the
be
best. I am
athletic.
trying to be the best girls confidence program in
Yeah,
the
but
country for sure.
right. And that's fine, because like I had a podcast with a good friend of mine. Heck, it was the same thing. He's an athlete, but he's not that first. He is a family business spiritual person. But the fight to the finish that he had to do, coming from a non-US citizen, getting here with no money, his parents didn't have any money, he's built up a very successful business, and he's written a book. It's very successful, and it's like, that's his why, that's his thing. And so okay, then let's touch on that for like 3 minutes. Like, you just made a pretty bold statement. And like, how are you bringing in your competitiveness and your mentality into this new phase of life for Z Girls?
Well, I've created my ideal situation, which is I'm a coach and a leader with my team, but we're a team. And I very much feel that support. Like everyone has their own like things that on our team that they're doing, but like at the end of the day, like it feels like we're all working towards the same goal. So I've created in my mind like the perfect sport. And like our end goal is a win together, which is growing this thing to be huge, to be a support for every middle school girl in the country, which is a huge, ambitious goal. I don't know if I'll ever see that to happen. I hope I do. But it's such a big goal. I'm comfortable with the fact that it could take a very long time to get there. And like I've accepted the fact that this is probably something that doesn't have a finish line. And like, how do I enjoy being in that like mindset of like, it's okay to be in work that never has a finish line.
And give us 1 to 2. How do you do that? Like, how do you do
I
it
enjoy the process
without a striped flag? How do you do that?
To me, it's being on the course and looking around and being like, great, I'm running. The phrase is, right, this is a marathon, not a sprint. What if it's not even a marathon? What if you're just running? You're just going and you're just enjoying. You stop when you need a break. You keep running. It's like Forrest Gump. It just felt like running. I love, and I have to keep reminding myself this because there are days that I'm like, oh, we're not there. We have so much further to go. But to just accept the fact that like I'm just in this and I love it. And if you love it and you love the people you're with, well, then it's just fun. And I'm doing it for the fun of it. And I mean, bonus, like we're changing people's lives and doing something meaningful, but like I do it because I get self-worth from this and I get validation, and it's hard and it's challenging. I deal with failure and I mess up, And I'm learning how to be a coach and a leader. And like, it's this sort of ecosystem for me to try these things. And I don't feel like I need that from sport anymore. Cause like, okay, I ran the Boston Marathon in 2019 and I did not look around at all at the people next to me and be like, I gotta beat her. I gotta beat them. Oh my gosh, they're passing me. I looked around at the crowd and I was like, this is so cool. Like, I had my name on my hat and there were people in the crowd being like, Jill, you're doing it. And I was like, this is the coolest. I didn't care about my time. I didn't have headphones on. Like, I was just like, this is awesome. And that's the mentality I try to take now, which is like, I'm not trying to beat that person. But sometimes that I like, that was like the ultimate flow state, right? Because if I go out for a run and I'm like kind of side by side with somebody, like we're running around a lake or something, I'm like, I'm going to beat you. Or if I'm in a Peloton class,
not everybody does that.
If I'm in a Peloton class with our sister, because you can ride virtually with someone, I'm like, Amanda's going down. Like, bring it. So I'm not saying I'm like, the competitive gene is not in me, because I love to let that out.
Yeah.
I just let it out in different ways now.
And that competitive gene, I actually, on that story with Amanda, so I go and I ride with Paul and some of the Audi guys on noon on Fridays in the summer. So of course, like there was one time it was just Paul and I, and I'd been biking for a while. I'm like, oh, I'm getting good at this. Like Paul's been not really doing it. He's been watching his youngest son or whatever. So we're like partway through and I'm getting to know the Mercer Island Loop a little bit better. He obviously knows it way better. And all of a sudden, I thought we were at the spot that allowed me a downhill where on my TT bike, I could, like, if I'm in my TT position and they aren't, I can smoke by them. And I'm like, oh, it's coming. It's just a small little hill and then it's right back down. It was the wrong freaking hill. So I come blazing by Paul and I'm like, see you at the other side. I went up a hill, came down, and then the big hill, and here comes Paul. And he just left me. He normally waits for me. He's like, nope, I'll see you over there on the other end. So
I love that.
Yeah, the competition's there. But
I love that.
Thanks for sharing this. It kind of was a little different in terms. Everyone's a little different when we have these, but I think it's really important to kind of look back on it where, let's just call the fight to the finish is for you is always going. And I think that's one thing with me. And I think with a lot of people is once you do one thing and you kind of maybe hit a finish line or maybe you get almost to it, the finish line moves and it just keeps moving and moving. And for some, it's like, oh, I just really wanted to do that marathon or that 70.3 or sell a company. And then they're like, okay, cool, I'm done. But even those people get the itch and then the itch is tough to scratch. And so you're like, okay, let's keep going. But, for you, I hear you kind of worked on this thing when you were younger. It was about, getting, hey, how do I get more glorified and so forth from my coaches? It's an individual. Then you found a team. A team gave you a little bit more of maybe some clarity around what it meant to be not only competitive, but find a flow. And then as you've worked into this adult life and, kids, I think have a huge substantial change. And especially for women, as you guys carry them and give birth and have a different experience with it. I think, from what I'm hearing from you, there's a completely different light here where the competition is still there to go out and sport. But, now it's maybe just accepting that the finish line is not even there and it's about just enjoying what's there. And so, I always like to ask the guests, like, what's the one thing that you want to leave for them to just make them the ones that are in the middle of the grind or they're just getting started to kind of putting a finish line or a flag in the ground? What's the one thing that you can tell them that maybe gets them to commit or gets them to kind of keep pushing through?
What's coming up for me is probably what I need to hear and what I tell myself, which is like, what's meant for you will find you. And like, you don't have to force it. Like, keep pushing through in the way that you know how and keep doing what you're doing and trust the process. Like, trust that you'll get there, even if the finish line that you have in your mind is different than what's actually going to happen. Like, what if that's it working out? Like, what if, what you thought was going to be the finish line isn't actually the finish line and it's something else? But trust the process you're in and keep going and enjoy it as much as you can, because the finish line is made up. Like, we all think we know where we're going to go and what's going to happen. And by all means, I think goals are great. Like, I'm not saying don't have goals, but we're all on this hamster wheel. So you might as well just like trust that it's going to work out, and trust that you're on the path you're meant to be on, even if it's challenging and hard. What if this is life working out? Like, what if this is what it's meant to look like?
That's awesome. Trust the process and the path. I like that. That's really good. Well, thanks, Jill. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you in like 5 or 6 hours, right? Cabin time.
Can't wait.
Can't wait. Are
Put
you
all
skiing
the
this
kids
weekend?
together.
I know. Are you skiing? Okay, cool.
I mean, I hope so.
It's supposed to be spring skiing.
I know. It's like 65 degrees yesterday. It was unbelievable.
I know. I hate these little teases that they give you. Like,
I know,
and then it's just going to drop again. You're like,
totally.
Oh, yeah. So
totally.
All right. Love you. Thank you.
Hey, it was fun.
All right.
I'll chat with you and blow up your spot anytime.
That's awesome.
Bring it on.
All right. Love you. See ya.
I love you. Bye.